Haiti has many traditions. Suffering is one of them. Their recovery has been slow off the mark, but then again, struggle is a custom in this island nation. For 200 years they suffered under dictators, corruption, hurricanes, and now a 7.0 magnitude earthquake that killed hundreds of thousands. Nobody's even sure of the count. They're burying the bodies in mass pits. In Port-au-Prince, the capital and largest city, it's a moonscape of overturned stone and collapsed buildings. In a place of unyielding poverty, add death. You can smell it in the air, even as Haitians resume their lives. Street vendors sit outside buildings that hold the bones of their neighbors. Pedestrians walk around the debris on the sidewalks. Traffic clogs the avenues. The homeless, and that's more than 1 million people now, await the rains. Among the poorest in this land, it's children. The effects have been devastating. The struggle is now to keep helplessness from becoming hopelessness. The Bresma orphanage was the scene of a mid-January rescue effort that brought out 54 stranded orphans.
When the earthquake hit, my sister and I just felt hopeless. Just immediately, we weren't even at home with the kids when it happened, and it took 20 minutes to get through, and during that time, I don't even, what runs through your head is just horrible. And when we found out that everyone was okay and that everyone was alive and we knew we had to take action, I never imagined that this is how it would turn out. I can't believe that it was a long week, and it was a really tough week living in a driveway with hundreds of children, but the fact that we're here now is certainly worth it. And just thank you to everyone. I'm so proud to bring these kids back to Pittsburgh. It's awesome. I think I'm dreaming, and I don't know when I'm going to wake up. But
not every child made the escape. Inside a crowded driveway and yard, more than 30 children squat beneath a makeshift canopy, and they sleep in tents, in cribs, or on a porch. The inside of the house looks solid, but staffers say they've been warned the building could come down.
This is the Bresma orphanage. When Mike Henninger and I arrived here, we found approximately 31 children. Shortly after that, a medical team from Puerto Rico arrived, and what they saw was cases of malnutrition, dehydration. Overall, one doctor said that these children were healthy, but there were a few startling cases. One of them was Peter Saint-Pierre. Staff isn't entirely sure of his age. They found him malnourished with a case of pneumonia. Still another child was discovered to have a congenital heart defect. One of the doctors told me that without an operation, this child will die before the age 5.
The Puerto Rican medics were alerted to the situation by officials at the University of Pittsburgh Medical Center, and all anyone knew was that some of the children were sick. A week later, the two sisters who've overseen this orphanage, Jamie and Allie McMutry, returned to take over.
Well, there's kids down there still, so we're just going to take care of them. We heard they're pretty sick. I think there's 28 still at the orphanage, but there's 12 that are going to be there for a long time.
This time, well, obviously we're taking as many supplies as we can fit on the plane, and we're going to stay with the children who are still at the orphanage until we can figure something out for them. We're gonna stay in the yard, but this time we'll have tents and canopies and stuff. There's 12 kids that we're gonna be staying with.
Doctors say they found scabies, worms, fevers, and dehydration among some of these children, and one doctor said while it's not the worst condition he's found among children since the earthquake, nevertheless, they could find no medicine in store, even though an orphanage nurse said the children were seen by a doctor 3 days before. The McMutrys returned after this woman, Margaret St. Fleur, decided she would leave. St. Fleur is the executive director of Bresma, and she's announced she's leaving for Miami. As of last report, the McMutrys had lined up adoptions for the dozen remaining children. They're still waiting for word that they can take them to new homes. Cité Soleil was a slice of hell long before the earthquake. It's the poorest slum and the poorest nation in our hemisphere, and it spreads out from the shoreline to the outskirts of the airport. United Nations troops have been stationed here for years, sometimes trading gunfire with the criminal gangs called the Vagabonds. Now members of the 82nd Airborne from Fort Bragg patrol the streets. They find themselves popular with the children. The one thing in ample supply in Cité Soleil is children. The youngsters flock around the backs of the trucks. They beg for money, for food, for any kind of treat. On this day, the soldiers handed out portions of a drink mix. The kids ate it dry. This jumble of poverty and humanity is the mission of Brother Kevin Cannon. He belongs to the Missionaries of Charity, a Catholic order that's trying to hold back the sea of pain. The mission hospital is swimming in children and old people. When someone's brought here, the family comes along with them. Many come to die. AIDS and tuberculosis are rampant. In the men's ward, some patients have waited for years. Bed 36 is taken up by an elderly blind man that Cannon and his fellow brothers found dumped on the streets. He's been here for 15 years. Some diseases reach across biblical distances in this town. This man lost toes to leprosy. In the women's ward upstairs, young children play. Mothers, some with AIDS, others with TB, bring their families along. Otherwise, the children would starve. Since the quake, patients have slept outdoors at night, and from the rooftop, the slums spread out in all directions. It's hard to tell what the quake knocked down in Cité Soleil and what never made it upright in the first place. In Pétionville, a hillside suburb, a crew was delivering plastic packets of relief water to a depot. From the adjacent tent city, quake victims swarmed to the truck. It was hard to tell how the crew decided on when to toss a bag of packets over the side and when to offload them into the guarded compound. The truck was backed up to the gates. The gates were set up to avoid gaps. Still, a few bags made it out to the crowd, and some of them promptly started selling that water on the street. The smell of death was strongest at the Hotel Montana. The 60-year-old hotel fell in on itself during the quake. Hundreds were lost. A month later, they're still digging them out. One of them was named Richard Bruno. He was a native of Clairton, and he was a college professor, a medical doctor, a former State Department employee. On January 12th, he was part of a delegation from Lynn University in Boca Raton, Florida. It was called the Journey of Hope, a project that brought Dr. Bruno and a dozen students to Port-au-Prince to work in food banks and orphanages. 4 students and 2 professors died. 2 days after this visit, Dr. Bruno's remains were found by a team that tunneled through the 5 collapsed hotel floors. Soon the rainy season will begin here, and almost 1 million Haitians now sleep outdoors. Most of them rely on makeshift tents made of bed sheets and plastic tarps. Relief workers are racing against time to get up more solid structures, and nobody's sure if they'll make that deadline. For now, people still wait in line for food. They pick through rubble in search of anything they can use. They live interrupted lives in a broken city. In the tent cities, Haitians wait. On some nights, we could hear them praying. In Port-au-Prince, Haiti, for PostGazette.com, I'm Dennis Roddy.